webcam. That's why you're on the Facebook page today. And it's kind of an impromptu tour I'm going to give you. It was supposed to be Stephanie, but she can't make it today. So I'm going to give you a little tour of our elliptical aviary and what's in here today. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of a full aviary. There are no eagles or hawks, but there's a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to back up and let the interns here, Natalie and Courtney, are going to go feed the gulls. So I'm going to start out here.
I'll get it.
Okay, I was trying to stay 6 feet away from everybody. So this is the inside of the building that you see off the rotary. There's a hallway here, and we have a flock of gulls that are about to be fed. So you guys just walk in, we'll stay at the doorway. Okay, I am going to put my mask on. So inside the elliptical we have chambers. This is one chamber here that has geese in it, and we'll talk about them in a minute. And opposite there, we have some common terns. And you can see, if you can point to the skylight, it's a really big, beautiful area for birds. This is going to enable them to fly in here. So back to the seagulls. This is the largest chamber we've got. Can you guys open this up? I'm just going to open the door and stand here. Okay. So we have 6 gulls in here. After they get better from their initial intake, where their wings might be splinted or their medicine has been given for their ailments, we try to make a flock. And right now we've got 6. You can see some of them don't look all that great, but they do much better in healing process when they're together. So we have this guy over here has a wrapped wing, and as does the other great black back there. So they were just fed. You'll see they have a pecking order, and these guys have never been together before they come to wild care, but we have been doing this for years, and they bond. Get that guy right there. See how he's carrying a feather? We've discovered that is very important to gulls. I don't know if they do this in the wild, but whoever carries the feather seems to have some kind of clout, which is really kind of awesome. The babies, the dark ones, who are like that one there who carried the feather, he's a first-year baby, as is that one on that side, and that's his little baby noise. So this is our flock right now. We're not going to be able to release all these guys together, but what we try to do is to at least pair up a baby gull with an adult who is going to be able to fly, and we have found that they do tend to stay near each other. On that log, that upright log, with that nice handsome herring gull, he's very healthy, and he's going to be released hopefully today. And we'll see if the baby, one of these babies, has been hanging out with him for the last couple of weeks, and the plan would be to release them together. So that's the gulls. So the interns will be cleaning this place up. We have a pool of running water here, which they use, and we have a steady flow of water, so it's always clean. Okay. So I'm going to open this door, and if this doesn't disturb the geese, we'll keep it open. Otherwise, we're going to have to look through the grate. But in here we have 2 Canada geese. One we've had for a couple of weeks who came in, he was on the highway, Route 6, somewhere around Dennis, I guess around exit 9 or so. And people have been calling him in for a couple of days. And we finally got him, and he was brought here. It was not acting like a normal goose. It was acting very laid back, and like he didn't really mind us handling him, and that was a sign that probably I was suspicious of lead poisoning, because that's a symptom where they just are not acting like a wild animal. When we tested this goose for lead poisoning, it was extremely high. It was high on our scale, and it just says high because it's over a limit. So we did chelation therapy on this goose, and it actually, the count came down to 53, which was good. It's on its second round of chelation to try to get the lead out of its system. So we were lucky in the rehab world when you have flocking animals who don't do well when they're alone. I don't like the fact that we had to get another poor animal in, but this little other, there's the lead poisoning gooses there, and the other one with the kind of the shabby feathers on its breast there, he's a new guy who is a young goose who was hatched this springtime at a lake in Orleans, and its family, because people live on the lake, they watch the geese, so we know the history. The family pretty much left and abandoned this goose, and he was just eating people's grass and being a poor thing, and they finally called us because he was starting to rip his feathers out. He's so skinny that his keel, which is that big bone that sticks out like a knife, was slicing his skin. So he was sore, and he was picking out his feathers to help the pain, I guess. And so he was starving to death. We've gotten him up and running, and have you can see that these guys like each other, and it's really important for them to be together. The goose with the lead poisoning is not eating on her own, and we're hoping that the competition for food, because there's another goose in here, that will inspire her. Kind of sad. The lead poisoning is chronic in geese and swans who pull up the grass underwater, and they pull up all the fishing gear and all the lead what are they called, sinkers, and there's the lead shot from the past from all the shotguns, and they ingest that, and the lead stays in their system, and it makes them sick. So we're going to cross our fingers for this guy. The lead count is going down, and hopefully we can release these two guys together, since they were found alone, and they'll bond. That's the plan. Hope it goes through. So over in this, right here, these are our tags for common terns. Those are the initials we give them. There's been a die-off of fledgling common terns the last few weeks. You want to come through, Natalie? Natalie's going to come through to the... Oh, go ahead. Yeah. So we have gotten about 24 fledgling terns, and fledgling means that they're growing up and they're flying. So they're from common terns. It says common, but they are of special concern in Massachusetts. There are thousands of common terns on Cape Cod, and I just learned that the largest common tern colony in the world is Monomoy Refuge down in, off of Chatham. So we have a lot of common terns here. It may seem that 24 babies that are brought to us that aren't well isn't a big deal, except wild care, because we are on the Lower Cape, and this is the place people call and bring us sick animals. We're often the first place to see things coming in. So when we first got a couple of common terns in that were babies and had the same symptoms, it was like, I hope nothing's happening with the terns. But then we got like several in the next day. So what we do is we notify Fish and Wildlife, and we're often which it's good that most of the time what we report isn't a terrible thing, but the fact that if there's an oil spill and we get the first few birds that come in, and we inform the Coast Guard that we've gotten, you know, these MERS come in with little oil spots. It's a big deal for them to know to go out looking for the oil. So it's nice that Wild Care, even though we seem like this kind of a small place, what we do can be very important to report for the authorities on things that initially start happening. So when these terns were coming in all the time, we did report it, and we were told to save the carcasses of the ones that die, and most of them are dying. They're coming in like starving to death and really weak. So just something to, if you didn't know, that we do participate in all kinds of studies, including with loons and other kinds of birds that are important in the human impact world. When the water conditions around Cape Cod get funky, whether it's just natural algae blooms or not, birds are often get sick first. So we see them. So it's just kind of a heads up. So Carrie can try to get, these are the only terns that have made it so far.
I don't think it can focus on it.
And part of what I want to do anyway is to walk in there and see if they're both still flying. So I'm going to open the door. We have them, they've recovered to the point where they're flying, and we want them not to hurt their wings in the smaller chambers that we had them. So we have them in here. We're hoping that they'll get exercise, and we'll have to, hopefully we can release them this week. We have to wait for the storm. Oh, there they go.
Nope.
Okay, so they're going to go up and hide, which is great. But maybe, Carrie, you can just pan and see that this is big enough for these smaller seabirds to actually fly and maneuver, and which will build their muscles up. And like with the geese and the gulls, to get more than one with each other is very important. So like you just saw, they both took off and they're both together, which is the way we like it here. They would still be pretty much, their parents would be focused on them, so we will return them to where they were found. And at that point, we kind of have to cross our fingers and hope that they're going to know what to do. They're eating on their own. We give them fish and they go over to the bowls. They are not, terns when they actually hunt in the wild, they will, swoop down and catch the fish in the air. We haven't been able to get them to do that here, but they are eating on their own. Okay. And they're watching, and they want us to leave, and they know that Natalie and Courtney are going to feed them soon, so. Okay. Okay, I was going to say that we got all these terns in. They were all common terns except for one that was a roseate tern. The roseate tern is an federally endangered animal, and what Wild Care and anybody who has wildlife license rehab has to report any special concern or endangered animal, which we did to the state. This particular tern was, he did not make it. He came in extremely ill and died, I think within 24 hours. But it was banded, and any banded animal should be reported. So if you are on the beach and see a seabird or just the remains of something and there's a band on it, it is important for you to report it, which is easy. You just go online and you go to the number that's on the band. And they give you a printout of where it came from. So this particular roseate tern was hatched in Maine this year and had come down to Cape Cod because of all the fish. We were suspicious that these birds were coming in emaciated because there wasn't enough fish for them to eat, which is often the case with climate change. Birds still come to the same areas, but the fish are somewhere else. Stephanie, our executive director, had spoken to one of the pilots that flies around on the Cape, and he apparently saw a lot of these, the fish that the terns eat. So apparently that is not an issue at this point. There's talk of an article in the Chatham Chronicle coming up that's going to talk about the tern situation and show some of the pictures that Carrie took. Carrie's pointing the camera at me right now. So, okay, so that's these guys in here, and our elliptical has another large area that is, this whole aviary was designed for raptors. So you can see up here, there's perches and there's windows that can be opened that go in and out of the chambers. We don't always have raptors. Like right now, we just have a couple of owls that aren't well enough to be down here. So we are utilizing this wonderful outside space for all kinds of things. So you saw the birds over there, and we also have set these tents up. This chamber goes all the way around, so birds can fly all the way around it, which is awesome. Gives them continual flight and a lot of extra. So these tents we set up to put the orphan songbirds that we raised from incubators on. They're to the point where they are pretty much almost ready for release. So we're giving them some flight space. And we had so many baby birds this summer that we resorted to getting tents again so that we could keep them separated. Can't really mix all these different birds together in a small place. We've got some eastern phoebes here who fly around and catch bugs. We're making them a little bit nervous, but you can see they've got quite a bit of space, and the interns will be feeding them shortly. We give them mealworms and waxworms. We've got crickets, and they also eat fruits and veggies. Here we've got, I believe they're the great crested flycatchers. Their crests are coming in now, and they will probably be ready for release within the week, hopefully. We can only keep them for so long. Yeah. Sometimes we put in rotten fruit to attract the flies. There we go. You can see how they're like hummingbirds. They'll break in the sky and grab the bugs. And they got enormous mouths, kind of like an owl. They can open it up and swallow big things. So here's a very ordinary bird, seen all over the Cape all year round. These are house finches. They're brown, like so many birds are just brown little birds. These are finches, and we've had them, they're ready for release, and hopefully, after the storm we had, we can just get them out this week. But they are flying really well, as you can see. So this is, the tents they're not huge, but they are a really good option. They're airy, and the elliptical has the sunlight that comes in so that they can get pretty direct sunlight. And they experience the change in nighttime and the darkness, and they can see the stars. Right. Okay, so now we have some ducklings. Are they nervous? Okay. All right, so this is our setup. We have 3 ducklings plus our foster mom, Eileen, over here. So the story with these little ducklings is the 2 of them, the 2 that are larger, they came from a septic treatment plant, a wastewater treatment plant in Barnstable, and they were found pretty dirty from the dirty water. Leah checked them in, and she cleaned them up well, and they're doing well. The other little one is more recent. She was taken in about 3 days ago. She was the runt of a family of ducks in Eastham that people had been watching, and they thought something might be wrong the day before they brought it in, and then the day they did bring it in, she was just not able to keep up with all the siblings. It's that one there. And the mother was trying to get her to come out and swim with her and the siblings, and she just wasn't strong enough, so she was brought in. Doesn't seem to have anything really directly wrong, but is the runt, and often runts aren't able to keep up. And Eileen's been good. The point of having Eileen is that these ducklings will have a duck to look up to and won't imprint on people. So they're afraid of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like Wildcare's done a good job. If we didn't have Eileen, they would be coming to us because we give them food. But because they have Eileen, they look to her for protection. She's sometimes doesn't like fluff up and take them under her wing, but she has accepted them well enough, and that's her job. That's the whole reason we have Eileen, is so that these ducklings are not going to be attracted to people. So we have flowing water here for them, and they're on a little, it's like a farm mat you can buy that plugs in, and it has a very low, like a warm temperature where you can just put your hand on it and feel some warmth. So that's the warmth that they have. They go swimming and they go on that to warm them up. If they get really wet, over there is a little heat lamp that they can go under, more like a brooder situation. And we also offer them shelter so that they can hide and be extra warm inside that little purple clamshell. So that's our aviary. I hope this was interesting, because I know the people who drive by on the Rotary always see this building and have never been in here. And this is what we do. It's like a gigantic barn. We did finally get electricity in here, but you can see from all the hoses on the ground that we don't have plumbing in here yet, but hoses still work. They're complicated though. Right? So thank you very much. I hope this was fun for you. See you next week.